Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And Mark, we may be the only two people here today because it's the 4th of July and everybody's probably having a cookout and fireworks and parade.
They can listen to this later.
They can listen to it later. We're going to go ahead and post it today. We think it's you can't say lead every day and then not post every day. So we debated. We did debate.
I know.
And so we're like, let's go ahead and drop this today. And so if you're listening today, you may be one of the people who've been asking these questions we've been in for the last couple of weeks, and you're just in so much pain today that you like, I need maybe to know what these guys are talking about, because we've talked about some difficult stuff. And let us just say, we really do. We've talked about this a lot off air, and we can feel what you're going through. We've gone through a lot of it ourselves in the past and had these situations. So these questions have been just so good. And if you've missed any of these episodes, I hope you'll go back and check them out. If you know somebody who's struggling with any of these issues that we've talked about, all kind of team stuff and communication and meetings and just a lot of great content that y'all submitted here, I hope you'll share with somebody and continue to encourage the people around you to lead well as well. We dream about a world well led, and it really starts with you guys. Mark, a few weeks back, you'll remember you gave me a book that I love this book. It's a book on writing, and the author talks about how a book is not about something, a book is for someone. I just thought that's such a great thing. And that's really the heart behind our show. It's not about what we're talking about as much as it is for you. We really want to try to help you as much as possible. So that's our heart, and we're excited about diving in today. And maybe we can get some fireworks here later on, maybe a cookout. I don't know, but
let me add one thing to that. Please continue to send us your questions. I mean, we did however many, a dozen episodes, 18 episodes, but we're going to continue to collect your questions. And at some point in the near future, we'll do another series where we answer your questions.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, a guy from our team told me we're gonna send a little some kind of something out tomorrow, an email that'll actually let them submit some more questions. So
Good.
If you get that email, you probably won't open it till Monday. You may be off tomorrow
Open
as well.
it whenever.
But whenever you open it, I hope you'll take the time, like Mark's saying, to submit some more questions, because we really would love to speak into any of that stuff that's going on. Okay, so I got
or just text me 678-612-8441 if that's easier for you. We'd love to hear from you.
We'll put the phone and number in the show notes. That's great. Okay, so here's the question for today, Mark. It goes a little bit along some of the lines we've been talking about, but what are some tools? I like the word tools there. What are some tools that you would give us for handling difficult team members who are easily stressed or combative about corrective action? In other words, people are not, they're not receiving correction very well. Are there some tools that we could give a leader to help navigate some of this, difficult team members? Got a thought there?
I do have a thought, and it's something that one of my mentors shared with me years ago, and I'll truncate a longer conversation because it was really rich. Let's see if I can kind of hit the highlights here. He said, many people dread their performance review, which is sort of baked into this question.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, the reason is that most leaders don't understand performance management. And Ken Blanchard is the one that taught me this. He said there are 3 parts to great performance management. He said step 1 is performance planning. When you sit down with someone and you together agree on what great performance looks like. What are your goals? What are your objectives? What are your priorities? What are your timelines? And you do that together. He said the second part is ongoing coaching, where you come alongside someone and say, hey, I want to help you be successful. I want to help you accomplish the things that we talked about. And he said 3, at some predetermined time, whether it's 6 months or a year, you have the performance review. He said, and that's where most people start. He said, but it should be anticlimactic, because at that point, you've agreed on what you're going to do. You've coached them to try and help them be successful. And you're just basically looking at the results at the end of that time. So I would encourage people to be sure that you're doing performance management in its broadest context for those people that become combative when you're giving them feedback. because they clearly don't see your role as their ally and their guide and their coach and their helper. And I think you can set some of that up in the very beginning. You tell them, I'm going to coach you throughout the year so that we're sitting here 12 months from now and we're feeling really good about what you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, I love all that, Mark. It's always just so much wisdom you're sharing there. But I will say this also, a couple things that they talk about here. This combative or in the face of corrective action. I do want us to go back to the heart of that person. If there's something going on there that is really combative, I mean, they're just not teachable, they're not coachable. That's a whole nother episode. Maybe we could talk about that. But let's go there first and think about that. But then let's go back to something that we've been talking about, these root causes of stuff. And I think what you just shared there, to me, the root cause oftentimes is a lack of clear expectations. It's just, if I'm not real clear on what I expect, and if you're listening today and you're looking for a tool, that might be the place I would start. When I say clear expectations, what are we expecting them to do? How are we going to measure success? I mean, there's some things that
all part of performance planning,
all part of exactly what you're talking about. And so to me, that's the place to start oftentimes. And then again, if we do that correctly and then they still have a hard issue, well, that's a hard issue.
Let's add one more thing to that performance planning is role clarity.
Yeah.
Because if I don't expect you to come up and say, hey, let me give you some feedback.
Yeah.
You know, if we talked about XYZ, I want to offer some feedback because I'm not sure you're going to get to XYZ the way you're doing this.
That's exactly right.
So they're not only the what does success look like, but let's be clear on roles.
Yeah.
I'm actually paid by the organization to help you be successful.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to praise you when it's going well, and I'm going to correct you when it's not.
Yeah.
Because that's actually my job.
Yeah. I love that coaching mindset that we're really trying to help people win. I mean, that's what a coach does. They're not on the field. They're trying to put people in position so they can be successful and which is really great. So yeah, that to me, that's one of the great tools. I also think I mentioned just a second ago the idea of it being measurable though. I think so many times people are struggling. We've talked about this before where you remember we took people bowling and we covered up all the pins.
They didn't
crazy.
like bowling.
They didn't like bowling.
Without
They hated it. But we learned something valuable. People really do need a way to measure their success. And I think sometimes we are expecting them to get a performance review and then a year later we'll give them another one. And I always look, and I said this a couple of days ago or a few days ago. I know your employees are not your children, but could you imagine parenting your kids once a year? I mean, you're having a conversation with them once a year and expecting them to make progress. You wouldn't do that. There's no way. I'll meet with y'all at Christmas, and if you're good, you'll get some presents, and if you're not, you won't. I mean, that's just not. You're having ongoing conversations, and so I think this clear expectations, yes, but that performance management you're talking about, don't undervalue that. Make sure that you've got. This goes back a little bit to another thing we talked about, the idea of how many direct reports you have. You need to have a few enough direct reports so you can connect with people in an ongoing way. And whatever the frequency of that, you'll get to decide that. But I think sometimes we have people that are frustrated. It's not because they have a bad heart. Why do we hire them if they have a bad, they're frustrated because we have, again, I'm going to look myself in the mirror first here and go, I wasn't clear. I didn't give them a way to count it. I didn't tell them why their job mattered in the overall, what we're counting, all that stuff. We didn't have a shared goal together.
And I didn't affirm them when it was going well. I only showed up when things weren't right.
We never celebrated anything.
Let's
good,
celebrate them along the
on
way.
The hand when it wasn't. I mean, yeah, that's such a good call out. So there's an opportunity here for us to maybe be a better leader. Again, we talk about this all the time. How do we become better leaders? But sometimes when people are struggling, it's not about what's going on with them as much as is what I've not done, maybe that I need to do. So I'd encourage our listeners to look themselves in the mirror again.
And then one more thing that we have repeated several times during this series is try to figure out if there's something else going on. It might be in the domain of performance management broadly, as we just outlined it with I thought some very tactical examples and illustrations. But maybe they've got a sick child or a dying parent, or maybe they're just not in the mood for any number of reasons to receive your coaching and your feedback. And their instinctive reaction may be to push back or to be combative. So I would say, do you know what's going on? because that's not the way most people are wired.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. All right, so we'll land it there. I hope you're grateful for the freedom you have to be a leader. It's really cool. And if you're listening to this on July 4th, I hope you'll have a safe holiday as well with your friends and family. Hope you'll come back tomorrow. We got one more episode, Mark, we're going to do. We'll send an email out let you ask some more questions for later on. We're going to do a new series starting next week as well. So I'm excited about that. But we got one more tomorrow, and I think this will be a interesting conversation.
Oh, good.
So it's going to be good. We're going to talk about some toxicity tomorrow. So it'll be good. All right. Love you guys. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.